Good evening, this is Nick Inman from VolumeProfileTrader.com on Tuesday, December 20th. And today we had a huge day up in the market. You can see the market up 3%, 36 S&P points on the S&P futures contract. We basically yesterday's lows were the lows of this downtrend, and now we're in the process of forming an uptrend, and I think this is something that you want to be a part of. Hopefully you were involved at these lower levels. We were talking about being involved, and on this breakout, certainly, think about it. You have this downtrend, and there are a lot of people who are speculating to the short side, whether it be short the S&Ps, or it doesn't matter. Or there's a lot of people who are sitting in cash waiting for an all clear sign. Well, we break this downtrend resistance, we really start to push out to the upside, and all of a sudden the coast is clear, and we rally from the very beginning of the day and close practically on the highs of the day. So I think this is a market you want to be involved in. I think we're close to, unfortunately, short-term resistance, and it may be the top of the range, you never know, but you see this high volume up here from December, really starting at 1242, which you can see if I want to zoom in here. You can see it was the swing high before we really got, moving to the downside. So I think this is something that hopefully you are a part of. Hopefully you took some of my recommendations and decided to buy some stock. And therefore today, when it started to push out above, it was a lot easier to get involved. So one thing to mention is, we didn't get below, or we didn't touch this point of control level. The point of control also didn't form here for the month. Instead, really when we broke this downtrend resistance line, that's when it was pretty much an all clear. So you see these whole moving averages also, with this recent push out, they're going to start really to start pointing up, which shows you basically, validifies that trend is to the upside. So I think that, we're going to be approaching levels that there will probably be some sellers that will be interested in selling. Although, let me just point out that on this daily chart of the S&P, I just want to show you what's really going on. We have some downtrend resistance, and looks like we have a little bit of support on the downside. This looks like a bullish wedge pattern. I'm going to zoom in a little more. You can see, look at this huge high volume area. Look at the point of control for the last 2 years. We're sitting right above it. I think this is a market that you can get involved with a stop under these recent lows, with expectations really of basically the 1250 level, but really trying to break out from this downtrend resistance line and looking for 1300 to 1330 or so on the upside. I think that if we go back to last summer, we had our downtrend, we had consolidation, we had a new low, we had a rally, and then basically another new low, and it was off to the races. And I guess you could call that like an inverse head and shoulders pattern or whatever. Your shoulder, your head, your other shoulder, breakout, whatever. Here, similar, you have your downtrend, you have consolidation, you have a new low, you have a rally, a higher low, and then this is the only thing that's been different was a retest, and then another higher low, and off to the races. This, I believe it was in this range. I don't know exactly when it was, but I think it was the 22nd of August. No, maybe it wasn't that. But this is when this higher low was when Bernanke announced QE2 or something around there, and you can see what happened. And it wasn't but a few, what was it, last week? basically saying the Fed was going to be on standby. They didn't announce QE3, but at the same time, it looks like this is a market you want to be long. There's a lot of people underinvested, there's a lot of people not invested, and there's a lot of people short this market. And if this downtrend resistance line gets broken, it could be a big move to the upside really quick. So I want you to be a part of it, and I want you to realize what's going on and the potential of this move. Okay, I'm gonna breeze through about 10 names or so that I think you want to be involved in, and I think you can look for more upside. First is Apple. We got a higher low here. We have a little bit of resistance at 395, which was December's point of control, and then 400 is November's point of control. So I think this is a name that you want to be involved in. Hopefully you're involved at lower levels. We covered it. We were buyers down on this dip, and I kind of took it off my radar on this dip, but it's something I've always been a part of, and I think you should too. As far as a target, 395, 400, and after that, it's 410, and hopefully new highs, or at least push this 426 level. So Apple looks good. Celgene, this is a name that I've tried to get people on the bandwagon, and this is not a high flyer. It's a fast-growing company though, and you can see it's bounced off of point of control support. We had a breakout, test of the point of control, test of the breakout, and we were trying to get people involved at these levels, 61, 62. Now it's at 66, and it's really starting to press up to the upside. So 68 is your target, and then ultimately new highs. Intel, and you can see I've already done some drawings on here, but where have you wanted to be a buyer of Intel in the last couple of months, since it's really gotten going to the upside? Well, this $23, $50 level, where it's been right to be a buyer every time, even when it basically pushed below on that Thursday and Friday of a couple of weeks ago, probably a month ago by now. But and then we ended up pushing higher. Same thing. We have 4 days of consolidation at this level, and now we're pushing above. I think this is a name that you want to be a part of. Over the weekend, we covered energy. We said this is a name that you want to be, or this is a sector that you want to be involved in. ExxonMobil is a great example, up 3% today, along with the rest of the market. It's unlike the broad market, the S&P. ExxonMobil, really, these recent lows, unlike the S&P, which, let me zoom in really quick, which really came down, Exxon really didn't. It just traded sideways, and now we have made a new high relative to this range and relative to these recent highs, close enough. So ExxonMobil should have been buying the dip. ConocoPhillips, this one still looks pretty interesting. We had a big gap up today, just like the rest of the market, at the middle of the Bollinger or Donchian channel, and we have a higher low relative to last month, and we're looking for a little more upside. We want to see this thing go and test 73 or so. If I bring it up on the this monthly composite, you can see bouncing off of this monthly December point of control, really getting going. So I think you can be involved in this name as well. Apache. This name performed well today. We didn't have a point of control shift on the December, but you can see bouncing off the composite point of control off this huge high volume area. We're at the top of the range on Apache. Just like, generally speaking, if I bring up the S&P, we're approaching this high volume area, so there's probably going to be some selling pressure, but I think this is a market that you want to be involved in and look to basically buy more on any weakness. And just to show the XLE really quick, we basically, almost similar to a month ago Friday, basically just a big sell-off into the end of the week, and then a huge gap up, and it kept running higher. Similar, kept selling off, market bottoms. We gap up higher today, open near the top end of this range, and just kept going. So you have a lot of people who were shorting oil in general, oil stocks, and now they're going to be forced to cover, while we were basically getting involved to the long side. Las Vegas Sands, this is a name that it's really been trading sideways for the last year and a half, I think. I'll show you in a second, but December's point of control trading above that, so that's positive. I'm going to bring up Las Vegas on a daily time frame, and you can see it's been trading sideways. Nothing to get too excited about, but you can define your risk at these recent lows and say, hey, if it drops below 40, then I'm wrong. I take the money off the table. But if this thing gets going, and for example, if the market really starts to get going, this has a potential to keep going to the upside. And really, the top end of this range is, call it $48 to $50, buying at 42. That's a pretty good move. So I think this is a name you want to be involved in. IBM, bouncing off the 50-day moving average, the middle of the Donchian, up 2% today. You had 6 days of downside on IBM, and here's your update. Your stop goes below the recent swing low, around basically below $82. I wish we could have, hypothetically speaking, it would have been nice to be buying at these lows, but we didn't. The only thing to watch for on IBM is, we're at the composite point of control. We're at November's point of control, so keep an eye on that. That could bode for some selling pressure. But really, your target's up at this 192 to 195 level, maybe even 200. Weyerhaeuser, or however you pronounce it, this is a name that I covered maybe sometime last week. I don't remember when it was. And it's paying you off if you bought at the lower levels we talked about, and basically off of November's point of control. And let me zoom over a little bit. And close to the value area low, you can see that we had a little double bottom. This morning had a nice bounce and basically continuations. We have new highs for December on Weyerhaeuser, as a lot of other names. So looking at the daily chart, you can see what's really going on. We have this huge, and I'm talking huge, consolidation. And notice if we look up on this, where's the heavy volume? There is none. We're up 6% on this stock, and what's stopping it from going? Well, it's up $1 today. It's a pretty slow mover, but what's really stopping it from going to test these recent highs at $18.50, or what's really stopping it to going to $20, which was basically this last consolidation phase? And the answer is really nothing. If everyone who has wanted to sell has already sold, and so now there's a lot of cash on the sidelines. This is a name that people may perceive to be valuable. I consider it valuable because of where it is in the volume profile. So I think this is a name you want to be involved in. I wouldn't be surprised in 2012 if you see this thing go towards $25. So this is a name that I think you want to be involved in. Oracle, this is not the name I wanted to put on the list. Boeing, this is a name that I believe I started covering in the mid-60s, and I'll be as honest as I can get. I am not involved in this name, though I would love to be, but I feel like I missed the move, and I feel like I've even missed this breakout, or, I guess we're at the top of the range. But you can see December's point of control is at the bottom of the range, and we're going higher, guys. This is, the only thing negative about this name right now sorry, you see my background, is we're at the top of the value area for the last couple of years. So that's really the only thing that's negative about this name. Cisco, I tried to say 1750. That's your bogey on Cisco. We're getting a bounce off that, up 4% today. Expedia, this is a name that I've been following. It's a name that I just recently got involved in, and I think it's a name that goes higher. You can see the 200-day starting to point up. It's almost like we got this little, I guess you'd call it triangle pattern, wedge pattern, whatever, point of control. So long as we hold the 2680 level or so, which were recent swing lows, I think this is a name you want to get involved in, and I think you could have a target really up towards 3050 or so, which is the value area high for the year, and ultimately looking for new highs. Ford, I don't think you take this off your radar. This is a name that I bought a little bit today, and I like the fact that this is at the bottom of the range. It's at the point of control for the year. And also I was listening to Dougie Cass on some radio show this weekend, and he said that the auto industry, it's the longest period, and I don't know the date, but I think it's the longest period since basically for people to have used cars, and basically the cycle of new cars being bought is at very low levels, looking to basically see people upgrade. And if the economy picks up, if we see any type of improvement in the economy, Ford and GM are going to benefit from this. And one thing, I'm doing this video after hours, just got an alert. Oracle posts profits of 54 cents a share, below expectations, shares fall. So, as luckily I didn't post Oracle. Home Depot, this was a name that I was covering when it was around $37, said, I think you can buy this on any weakness. Well, sure enough, $42, off to the races. This is too late to buy now. When was the right time to buy? On the dips. Is this a dip? No, this is a rip. So you let this thing come in and try to buy some type of reversion to the mean, whether it be the Donchian channel reversion, maybe the 50-day moving average gives you an opportunity. But I don't think this is something that you should be jumping into right here, right now. Sirius Satellite, this is a name I've been trying to get involved in. Point of control's at $1.80. Poking our head above that today. Underperformed the market, but I can even make the argument for an inverse head and shoulders pattern. You got a low, a higher low, a the left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Your neckline is, call it $1.90, $1.92. Your measure move would be from $1.27, the lows of the head, to the neckline $1.92. $1.92 minus $1.20, 65 cents, and that leads you to a target of $2.57. So call it $2.50 or the highs from the year. So I think this is a name that you can be a part of. Visa, gone. MasterCard gave you a pullback to around the 50-day moving average, still moving higher. If you want to see it on a monthly chart, let me bring it up. You can see bouncing off of November's point of control. December's point of control is right in the middle of the range. We're basically bouncing there on a small time frame, looking for 385, even 400. So this looks pretty good. Walgreens, bouncing off of some pretty important support. November's point of control, the point of control for the composite. I think this is a name you want to be involved in, just because, and that doesn't really get the picture I'm trying to look at. Walgreens has been beaten. It's definitely been underperforming, and you can see that there's little space, or I should say little volume. This thing should push up towards 37 pretty easy, 37, 38, maybe even up to 40, 42, but let's get out of this basically $35 top that we've seen lately. So I think it's a name that you can scale into. So, and the last names I want to cover, which I'm going to do on the smaller time frame. Gold. This is a name. Look at all the lines that I have. Okay, gold. This is the gold futures contract, but for the month of December, we are holding the point of control. We formed the point of control at the bottom of this range. Had a nice little pop this morning. I don't necessarily think this is something you want to pile into. You could call this like a bearish wedge pattern, and maybe some more downsides likely to be warranted. But watch this $1,600 level, and I'm still a believer that gold is something you want to have in your portfolio long term, despite what's gone on. So I think gold at this $1,600 level, this is a name that you want to be at least looking at. And silver looks a little bit different. We have a lower high, kind of connect the lows. Perhaps we have a triangle pattern. So long as we hold 29 to 28.75, this could be a good name for a bounce up north of 31 again. But for now, I think it's sit and watch. The euro broke above Friday's swing high, went higher, fell below, and kind of balancing. You can see the high volume that we broke out of. This is a lot of people are short this. You can see the whole moving average is starting to point up, so that's good. This is a name that could, or this is a currency, I should say, that could push back up towards this December balance area. So it's something that you want to keep an eye on. And the dollar index, this says, yet last night I covered in the video, basically said, whichever way this goes is probably, the direction you want to be, opposite in the market. Well, guess what? Broke out to the downside. Guess where you want to be in the market? To the long side. The only thing is, the dollar index, you can see, came down to this high volume area, and we're taking a moment of pause. If it breaks below that, that's really what could spur the market, and we should see sub 79, really towards 78, 75 or so on the dollar index. But watch this level here and watch for more balancing. If it breaks below, that's good. If it doesn't, then we could see some balancing. We could see it push back towards 81. But this 80, basically this huge high volume that we've been balancing in, call it 80, 70, up to, well, even up to 81, should be some type of resistance for the dollar. So I hope these ideas help. I hope they give you some trading ideas. I think, going back to the daily chart of the S&P, which I'll bring up really quick, I think this is something that you potentially want to be involved in and looking for some type of breakout to the upside. And if we get that, everyone who's short, who has been shorting since the breakdown in late July, early August, if any of those people are still short, expecting more upside, let's face it, they're wrong, and they're going to get their heads taken off if this market gets going, even on light volume. It doesn't matter. And you can see for the year, point of control still up at the top of the range, but sometimes you got to zoom out. Oops. Close enough. Sometimes you got to zoom out and see what the big time frame players are doing. And if you really zoom out, you can see we had point of control support at 1100 for 3 years. What did we do? We bounced off of those levels, the lows of August. What a coincidence. And now we're really pushing above. Now this 1300 level, 1335, nothing, I mean, it looks pretty light to me. We're probably gonna be heading up there, and I think this is something you want to be a part of. So anyways, have a good night, and I will see you on tomorrow.